Animation as a medium is one of the most diverse forms of media. And puppetry and special effects are two unsung heroes of the animation and film industry. This is TUGS. TUGS was a British television series created and debuted in 1989 and ran from April of that year to June, lasting only a fledgling 13 episodes. It was produced by Clearwater Features and created by David Mitton and Robert D. Cardona, the company's co-founders, and both veterans of late 20th century television. David Mittens is mostly famous for being a director and writer for Thomas and Friends, working on the show since its inception in 1983 to 2003, but he's had a hand working special effects in shows like Thunderbirds, Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons, Joe 90, The Secret Service, and UFO, while Robert Cardona was a director and writer for live-action series. Interestingly enough, he was born in America but moved to the UK for work. Now, Thomas the Tank Engine, adapted from Reverend Audrey's The Railway series books, debuted in 1984, and Clearwater Features worked on production along with the then-known Central Independent Television, now known as ITV Central. I could say a lot about that show. It has a very important place in my heart, but that's for another time. The show was a massive success in the UK and in the US when it crossed over. The show still continues on to this day. You could say,
nothing stops this train. Nothing.
But during the late 80s, Cardona and Mitton wanted to create a show of their own, which would eventually evolve into TUGS. Now, truth be told, I was not aware of TUGS until very recently. I knew of its spiritual successor, which we'll get into later. I think I was browsing TV tropes when I stumbled onto a link to one of the episodes on YouTube. That episode's being Munitions. That was one hell of an introduction, I'll tell you that much. TUGS is set in the 1920s in Big City Port and centers on its ensemble cast. Two companies of tugboats, the Star Tugs and the Zed Stacks. Most episodes are about the tugs from opposing sides conflicting with each other over contracts, or there will be a job everyone's doing and something or someone conflicts with it. Pirates, gangsters, ghosts, overzealous military officers ordering civilians around on an unchecked power trip.
You're under Navy jurisdiction. Obey orders and wait till they've made my inspection.
You know, the usual. Also, this show is very British.
Eat your heart out, Star Stacks.
You've got Cockney accents, Irish, Welsh, London, Scottish, Geordie, even Australian. It's all well acted too, and despite the piles of characters everywhere, they managed to make every character, even the most minor ones, sound distinct. The exceptions are the Zed Stacks. I feel like making them uniform design wasn't great. To be honest, Zek, Zip, and Zug all blend together. Also, I'll say this much, the show is intended to be set in America, specifically the San Francisco, but everyone talks in non-American accents. It's slightly weird, and I thought for most of the show it was supposed to be, set in some British port, but whatever. But besides them, the cast that TUGS has is really solid. 10 Cents and Sunshine are like two younger brothers that look out for each other. OJ is everyone's grandpa. Big Mac and Warrior look out for everyone. Top Hat looks good. And Hercules is also there. What helps define their characters even more is also just how well detailed every character is. This show is a work of miniature art. Every shot is brimming with minuscule details. Even at a standstill, there is something to admire. Obviously, the well-constructed detail of the characters' models, but it seems there's always something new to witness in the background. The structures in the background implying the image of a great city, smoke billowing out of many different characters, cranes moving from left to right hauling freight, and even something as simple as how the water moves makes every frame in this show seem alive, even if we know that it's simply models at work. All this helps build atmosphere. The one thing this show does amazingly is how it pulls off its atmosphere. You could feel how cheery the harbor is, but when it turns to night, the eeriness creeps in. This is pulled off flawlessly in the episode appropriately called Ghosts, where watching it for the first time, I was wondering if they are actually going to have ghosts in this show. The spookiness was real, and reached a breaking point when this happened.
What is it, 10 cents? What do we do? How do I know? Oh, look at that. Oh, it's a galleon, isn't it? What is it?
Believe it or not, all this gets explained, except for that damn face. I don't want to know what its deal is. To an extent, I think that this is due to the camera the show used, the Clearwater periscope lens. It was a television camera used to film the locomotive models of Thomas and Friends at eye level. There were two made, one for Thomas and one for Tugs. Compared to Thomas, there's a lot more action going on screen. The tugboats move a lot more often and set pieces are not as static. You feel the weight of ocean liners swaying these tugs around. And speaking of action, if I could recommend this show for one reason, it's for special effects porn. You know how in Gainax or Trigger anime, they'll blow their whole budget for one sequence like Ava or Panty and Stocking? I feel for this show, they spent a lot of their budget on special effects, specifically explosions. If there is one episode I recommend above all else to get into, it's Munitions. Half of that episode is dedicated to special effects and explosions. They light things on fire. They blow up the set. They sink a ship. They sink a crane. There's water effects. There's everything that a special effects engineer could put into a model set. Simply put, this episode and frankly the whole series is a fantastic showcase what model sets and special effects are capable of. For those who are wondering what else these forms of art could do, well, have you ever seen Star Wars? Most of the Death Star scenes were filmed using a model set, or how James Cameron managed to make shots of the Titanic look like complete spectacles with simple constructs. Simply put, before the age of CGI, special effects were how people were able to make the amazing shit you saw on screen. And to an extent, special effects hold up better than CGI. I feel like the more CGI gets better, it's easier to tell when CGI looks fake. When with special effects, even if we know it looks fake, it made movies real. The music in this show is also incredible. If you've been on the internet, you know how popular Thomas mashups are. It's because of how catchy a lot of those original Thomas pieces were that made them so mash-upable. And while I can't say that the tracks and tugs are mashup material, I can say that the music has a similar vibe to Thomas, and it's all really damn good. All of it composed by Mike O'Donnell and Junior Campbell. The opening theme song had its saxophone done by Pete Zorn, a musician who's worked with Richard Thompson and other music projects. I gotta say, I've grown to appreciate this saxophone, especially listening to George Harrison's solo work. And in the final episode, when all the characters are watching the final cruise liner leave off, you finally hear the full outro sung by Sue Glover, a wonderful piece that ties the whole show together and sends it off to sea.
You are silly, warrior.
You're clear, Vienna. Bon voyage. Godspeed.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Good night, Vienna.
Good night, Vienna.
But no matter how far away you are, know that I'm here to guide you home.
For the show itself, most episodes follow a similar format. There's usually a job that needs to be done, and the Star Tugs go about trying to do that. The opposition they find could be from other characters such as the Z-Stacks, but the very threats that longshoremen face are often the show's antagonists. Characters are well defined, and there is usually character development, I think. They often learn a lesson after each episode's events, usually 10 Suns and Sunshine, but all of the Star Tugs get in on that sweet, sweet character development. All except Hercules, and if I'm being honest, he's a character that hardly stands out at all. Most of the time, he's just there. He doesn't fulfill a role that the other characters can't fill, though I'm not sure that would have been rectified if the show went on, but as it stands, he just looks like John Lennon. It also gives a lot of other minor characters to shine. Billy Shoepack, the Fire Chief, many of the Cranes, and Izzy, oh.
When do I argue, compadre? It's $100.
Oh.
Gringos, who needs them?
Oh no.
It's very foggy, but if I see nobody, nobody can see me. So I get into port free. It's good.
No bueno. What really helps give this show distinction is that every character is voiced individually and they're all given accents, as I've discussed earlier. It helps that a lot of the accents are based from accents from the British Isles and Europe, where you can't walk 5 feet without hearing a different accent. I really love this show. As I was writing this script, I was rewatching the show so I could get notes and to figure out what I really liked it. And I think what I really enjoy about it is that there's a lot of character moments to it. Characters are very distinct. All the production value stuff that's there when they blow everything up, that's amazing. But I think I stick around for the characters. Munitions, that's a great episode. But my favorite episodes are Quarantine and High Winds because they display a lot of character for certain people, especially in High Winds where it gives a lot of development to the Z-Stacks tug Zebedee. Now, in most of the series and even a little bit afterwards, Zebedee is just kind of there to just help out the others to do the bad stuff. But it gives a lot of character development to him. It shows that even though he's he doesn't really trust the Star Tugs, he's willing to help them out because he can't turn a blind eye to it. And in turn, they help him out, especially when the gangster Johnny Cuba is messing around and tying him into his nefarious deeds. Dare I say, I think High Winds is the highlight of the show. And also sort of shows why I'm so disappointed that the show didn't go on, because I really would have liked to know what would have happened afterwards, because it's so damn good. That shot of Zebedee just sailing off towards the sunset while 10 Cents of the Sunshine watch, that's iconic to me. At only 13 episodes, it didn't last long at all. Clearwater went bankrupt after the first season was produced. There were plans to make a second series, and as many as 100 scripts were written, but it didn't come to pass. The show's creators went on different paths. Dave Mitton went on to join the Britt Allcroft Company to work on production for Thomas and Friends, while Robert Cardona packed up the periscope lens to Canada to work on Theodore Tugboat. If the show had gone on, apparently they would have spent more time upriver rather in the port, because according to Dave Mitton, filming in big city port was a pain. So, after all of this, where are they now? Dave Mitton spent a long time working on Thomas production, but he and David Lane, a fellow Thunderbirds alumni, collaborated together to produce another children's show, this time in computer-generated animation, Adventures on Orsum Island. The show never came to light as Dave Mitton tragically lost his life to a heart attack in May of 2008. A sad end to one of UK television's veterans. Anything that he and Lane worked on was dropped, and the episodes remained unaired. Robert Cardona went on to direct for Theodore Tugboat, a show that I do not know anything about, nor do I have a lot of interest in checking out, though I do own a model somewhere. After the show ended, he moved back to the UK, and I don't think he's done anything since besides odd Thomas stuff. Considering his background, he probably has enough saved to live off for a while. Dude's ancient too, so I hope he's doing okay. Now, what about the original assets to Tugs? Whatever happened to them? Whatever happened to the models? Well, actually, when the show ended, a lot of the assets were taken from the show and added to Thomas. For example, in this episode of Thomas and Friends, that little boat that you're seeing is actually OJ. So, yeah, that's what happened. But what about now? Where are they now? Well, here's an answer. A lot of the models were seized by a group of fans that met online and are on display right now. There's a group called TUGS, the exhibition, and they set up a little rail car where they've displayed all of the TUGS models, all of the Z-Stacks, and most of the Star TUGs, including a lot of the minor characters and set pieces. I think they also have a script of the first episode. TUGS the exhibition is in the Midland Railways in Butterley in Derbyshire. It's free to enter and open pretty much every day. They used to have events going on a lot during the year, but as of right now, during the pandemic, I'm not sure if it's so widely available to go into, but maybe worth a shot if you continue to social distance and wear a mask. Unfortunately, as of right now, the characters Top Hat and Grampus have not been found. That's the only thing that's missing, so while the show is dead, I don't know, maybe like the last thing for this fandom to do is find out where Grampus and Top Hat are. I don't think they would have left the UK, so I don't know, break into people's houses and look for them. Who knows where they might have been. Either that or try to find the original beta tapes or the original reel so we can, upscale the series in HD and 4K. But besides that, if you are interested and you are in the area, I recommend checking the exhibition out. There's a video out there by James Woodcock where he interviews the people behind the exhibition, and they explain how they met and how they came across the models, along with their current events. I'll have a link in the descriptions to the video, along with links to the exhibition's social medias. As for the show itself, it's highly unlikely anything is going to happen to it. But we can hope. Though the most I would ever hope for is a DVD release. The series was only ever released on VHS, so if you want to track down the series, how are you going to do that? Simple, sis. There's these YouTube channels, a little bit over the place, about 3 of them I think. They all have uploaded the series. One of them in HD is where I got my rips from. So, fuck it. Check it out there. I don't think anyone's making money off those VHS releases. And if you do check it out, I really do hope that your time with the series is enjoyable as the time that I had with it. I have no nostalgia for the series, and I came out of it just loving this show. So, I do hope that you enjoy it. Thank you for your time, and I hope you have a good night.
Okay, Boomer,